Hey, this is Robert Naini, your spray foam advisor, and I often get asked a question about radiant barrier on the underside of a roof deck, right? That's one of the more common questions that comes into play, especially in retrofit applications and oftentimes by builders. And the question really comes down to if I already have a radiant barrier in place or if I'm looking to have a radiant barrier installed, can I also use spray foam insulation? Do they work together? How do they work together? What are their compatibilities? Does it make sense to do both? So you have to understand what a radiant barrier does before you can understand how it works with spray foam insulation and whether or not to use them together. And a radiant barrier like Thermoply or Tech Shield, these are some brand names of radiant barriers, or some of the spray applied radiant barriers in the market. What they are is they are low emissivity materials. Yes, that's a very technical way of saying that they allow less heat to emit from the surface of the roof to the inside of the attic space. So by applying a radiant barrier to the underside of the roof, they're able to change the radiant load in the attic space. So when the roof system is 140, 150, 160 degrees Fahrenheit at the shingle and plywood location, that temperature, that 150 degrees Fahrenheit, is radiating into the attic space. So when it's only 100 degrees outside, that attic space temperature rises to 120, 130 inside that space. That's why it gets really hot and humid up in that area. Well, by putting a radiant barrier on the underside of the roof, they're able to lower the amount of heat that comes off of the roof deck into the attic space. So they're able to drop the attic temperature a couple of degrees. They can have an impact up to the 10 degree, 15, 20 degree mark, lowering the attic temperature. And it does have a positive energy efficiency effect on structures if that's all you do. Now, for these products to work, they have to be exposed to the air. They have to be exposed to an airspace on the inside, such as the attic space between the ceiling plane and the underside of the roof. So they have to be exposed to that airspace because they're not allowing the radiant heat to be emitted into that airspace. And when you take spray foam and apply it directly to the underside of the roof deck in contact with the radiant barrier no longer functions. It will not work that way because it doesn't have an airspace. You have something directly in contact with it, it's not going to function the way it's designed to function. So you cannot apply spray foam directly to it and get the benefits of the radiant barrier. Now, in many situations, contractors go ahead and install spray foam over the radiant barrier because spray foam is going to outperform that system. The spray foam system, an unvented conditioned attic assembly, a semi-conditioned attic space with spray foam directly to the underside of the roof deck, is going to outperform a radiant barrier applied roof deck system. And the primary reason why is because with spray foam, you get the benefits of stopping conduction, of course, so you get an insulation at the roof deck, at the roof line. You get the benefit of addressing convection, air movement, you get the air barrier quality, and you change the interior radiant surface. So rather than it being the roof deck with an emissivity surface with a low emissivity coating or covering over it, now you have the surface of the spray foam. And because it's an insulation material, the interior temperature of the spray foam is going to be much lower than the interior temperature of that roof deck. So the radiant load coming off of the spray foam is much lower than the roof system. So you get kind of a radiant benefit, a radiant quality from putting spray foam on the underside of the roof deck, even though it's not a radiant barrier material. Now, if you want to use both of these products in conjunction with each other, if you go into a project and they already have a radiant barrier installed, and for example, the manufacturer of the radiant barrier says, do not install anything against this product. If you install anything against this product, it will not work anymore, and the owner wants to maintain the warranty on the radiant barrier, or whatever the reason may be. If you want to use these products in conjunction, then what you need to do is use a vent baffle. By putting a vent baffle on the underside of the roof deck, you have to connect it from the soffit all the way up to the ridge. You have to make sure that the roof is still being vented. But by putting an airspace, a 1-inch or a 2-inch airspace on the underside of the roof system, the low emissivity coating will still work. You will still get the benefits of that low emissivity coating. So the roof deck itself will perform the way it was working before, And you can install spray foam to the underside of the vent baffle so that you can create an unvented conditioned attic space. The benefits of that, of course, we all know: moving ductwork into conditioned space, moving the mechanicals into conditioned space. Lots and lots of energy benefits for that unvented, semi-conditioned, or unvented conditioned attic space. So, with that in mind, can you use them together? You can. They can be done, but you have to design it. You have to think about it ahead of time. If you install spray foam directly in contact with the radiant barrier will not function the way it's designed to. And all in all, spray foam systems will outperform radiant barrier systems because they do more things. They provide more benefits in the long run, so they're going to outperform those systems. This has been Robert Naini, your spray foam advisor. Check us out on some more videos.